Hello, and welcome to the Andy Warhol Diary in the old Razzle Dazzle. This is your pal Mubbo, and today we're going to be taking a look at Saturday, December 18th, 1976. Sorry, I just wanted to put my glasses on because I forgot. Today is Saturday. The house is quiet, so I figured I would get this done. Now, if this is your first time watching, you may be wondering, why am I doing this? This diary. Why is it so, low tech? Well, I read the diary maybe about 10 years ago. And when I was reading it, I was just reading it to read it just to say I had done it. If I saw someone's name, I would just say, oh, Andy talked to so-and-so today, and just continued on reading. But I decided to read it again. And I decided to research everything that I didn't understand or I didn't know who they were, which I think is important because Andy mentioned these people for a reason. They were important to him. So while I'm doing that research, I figured, well, why don't I just make videos about it and, take everyone along for the ride. So I'm doing all the work for you. All you have to do is sit back and enjoy it or not enjoy it or whatever. If you want to come along on this journey, I'm glad to have the company. Before we get started, there is some housekeeping that we just need to do. First of all, if anyone has any information regarding the murder of my uncle Charles Pancheri, it happened in 2011 on October 4th. He was found dead in his home for multiple stab wounds. If you have any information, you can call 908-654-TIPS. That's 908-654-8477. This happened on Green Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And you can also go to www.uctip.org. That's www.uc, so that's Union County, tip.org. Thank you very much for any information. Also, if you'd like to follow along, as we're reading it or before you watch or after you watch, this is a digital version of the diary. You can go to that website right here. And then when you get to this homepage, just click right here on full text and it will bring you to the diary. Today we are looking at Saturday, December 18th, 1976. So on this day, Andy went to Bonwit and Bendel's to do some Christmas shopping. Those are two separate locations. Bonwit is Bonwit Teller. It's a luxury department store in New York City located on 5th Avenue and 38th Street. It's comparable to Lord & Taylor and Saks Fifth Avenue. In 1979, Donald Trump acquired this building for $15 million. He then demolished this old building to make way for Trump Tower. It was planned to donate some of the old sculptures on the side of the building to museums, but they were damaged during the demolition. As for Bendel's, it was a high-end department store known for introducing French couture to the USA. It had an iconic brown and white shopping bag and was the first retailer to sell Coco Chanel, as well as the first retailer to offer in-store makeovers and to stage its own fashion shows. Now, I just want to point something out really quick. In one of my earlier videos, Andy was getting out of a cab, and he mentioned that he saw Coco. And I was saying, who is this Coco person? There's no mention anywhere of Andy Warhol knowing a person named Coco. Maybe it was a nickname for someone. But now I'm thinking it might have been Coco Chanel. So when she pops up again in the next diary entry, whenever that is, we'll take a look at Coco Chanel. But that's who I think he's talking about. As for Bendel's, all 23 stores were closed in 2019 after 123 years in business. Bendel's was often associated with the 3 B's of New York City. For shopping. That's Bendel's, Bergdorf's, and Bloomingdale's. And if you want to read an article here by Forbes, you can read up on why Bendel's is closing if you want any extra information. Andy then headed over to Quo Vadis for lunch with the intention of introducing Robin West and Delfina Rattazzi to each other. Quo Vadis in Latin translates to, "Where are you going?" This restaurant was located at 26 East 63rd Street, and it closed for good in 1984. And all that's left is this shabby-looking brick building. This very nondescript building was a major restaurant. Andy was meeting Robin West, who we've previously met during Andy's time at the Wyeth residence, which was like the first couple of videos that opened the diary. That's where Andy was heading to. He was heading to Delaware to spend Thanksgiving with the Wyeth family. And Robin was the man who was very taken with Catherine Guinness of the Guinness beer family. Not this Catherine Guinness. When I searched for Catherine Guinness, it brought up Catherine, William's wife, drinking a Guinness. That's the internet. Robin was very taken with Catherine Guinness, and he was very impressed by her wild stories about New York City nightlife. Catherine, of course, worked at the Warhol factory as one of Andy's assistants. Robin West is also known as J. Robinson West, and he served under the formal official under the Ford administration. And you might remember him. He offered to give Andy Warhol and the Wyeths a tour and a ride on an aircraft carrier. Now, I pulled this article here because Robin West is also involved in this interview. So if you want to read the whole interview, you can go right here. Give me 1 minute here. Let's get to the next slide. So here we have Catherine Guinness. And is anybody watching House of Guinness on Netflix? It's very good. I just finished the first season. However, I've heard that due to poor viewership, they might not continue the show, which would really be a shame because the first season ended on a cliffhanger. And if you are watching the show, I just noticed that Jack Gleeson, who's right here, he plays a character on House of Guinness called Byron Hedges, whom the Guinnesses sent to New York City to try to bring Guinness into the United States. He's played by the same character that plays the much-hated Joffrey in Game of Thrones. If you're interested in seeing this show, it's very good. I would highly recommend it, and I hope that they bring it back. So Andy intends to introduce Robin West to Delfina Rattazzi, and she's an heiress in the Fiat auto family. And that company was launched by Giovanni Agnelli, and the Agnelli family tree currently has around 200 members. And here's where Delfina fits in to the Agnelli family. And here she is with Arnold at a film premiere. This was taken in 1977 at the premiere of Schwarzenegger's movie Pumping Iron. And here are some pictures that Andy did of her. Andy wondered if Catherine Guinness would mind if Delfina met Robin West, as Robin and Catherine seemed to really enjoy each other's company during Thanksgiving at the Wyeth's house. Andy was surprised that Delfina told Robin that her family is in the airplane manufacturing business because Andy says Delfina likes to pretend that she's not rich. Robin West is also a flyer. And I just mentioned that Andy was offered a ride on an aircraft carrier. At Quo Vadis, Andy also saw Karen Lerner and Sisi Cahan. And Karen Lerner was a journalist and one of the first female reporters at Life, Time, and Newsweek magazines. Sisi Cahan was actually Mary Arnold Sykes, but she was known as Sisi. And I think this person right here is Karen Lerner. Sisi Cahan was the second wife of William G. Cahan right here, who was an anti-smoking advocate and thoracic surgeon in New York City. He focused on thoracic surgery and breast cancer surgery at Memorial Sloan Kettering. It was during this time that he noticed the link between smoking and lung cancer. William wrote a book called No Stranger to Tears about his time as a surgeon at Sloan Kettering. Sisi was a former trustee and longtime supporter of the Museum of New York. She and William divorced in 1974. Later that same year, William married his second wife, Grace Mirabella, who was the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine. I could not find a picture of Sisi anywhere. The only thing I could find was this obituary write-up. And here is William right here with his second wife, Miss Mirabella. So back in the diary, Andy comments that he thinks Karen Lerner has sold her flower prints to David Bourdon, as David recently purchased some flower prints cheap at Park Burnett. This is David Bourdon right here, this seriously looking fellow. David Bourdon was an American art critic and writer. He was one of the first writers on the minimalist movement, and he was very active in the 1960s avant-garde art scene. David wrote a book about Andy in 1989, which was an insider's account of Warhol's career. Bourdon states in the book that he helped Andy create a number of the 1963 Elvis silkscreen prints. Andy's film Blue Movie in 1969 was filmed in Bourdon's Greenwich Village apartment. And you can read this article about the Blue Movie being, explicit, and they're pulling it from theaters and refusing to show it. David purchased the flower prints at Park Burnett. That was an auction house that was located at 980 Madison Avenue in New York City. Back in the diary, here's the Park Burnett auction house, just for a reference. Back in the diary, Andy went home and received a call from Miss Drama herself, Bianca Jagger. Bianca was going to be packing up her room at the Pierre Hotel, which we've talked about a couple of times now, and she was moving into the new apartment with Mick Jagger on West 72nd Street. Now, I couldn't find anything on the 72nd Street location. I did find a couple of articles about an apartment on Park Avenue where Bianca was evicted as she had stopped paying rent, as she claimed the apartment had a mold infestation. She was also paying $4,600 a month for a moldy apartment. This apartment was rent controlled. Bianca was paying about 1/2 of what the apartment was worth. But the rent control allowance was being called into a dispute, as the landlord stated the New York City apartment was not Bianca's primary residence. Bianca holds a B2 visa and is required to have a principal actual dwelling place outside of the USA. So this was the apartment, and you can see the court filings, and her attorney, or the attorneys, were giving a summary of what is happening at this Park Avenue apartment. So these are pictures of the apartment that I could find on Park Avenue. This is the 17th floor, but Bianca's apartment was on the 18th floor. So, but you can get an idea of kind of what it looks like in the layout. Now, I did try to find a house, which is what Andy referred to this new place as. He went over to the Pierre Hotel, where him and Bianca packed all day. Finally, at midnight, Andy and Bianca went over to the little house. Quotation marks. Andy refers to the new location as a little house that Mick and Bianca bought. And Andy thought the little place was costing them a fortune. Now, I looked at some of these standalone houses. New York City is a vertical city, right? There's not a lot of place to put a standalone home right in the center of New York City. And I looked at 72nd Street notable residents, and the Jaggers do not appear anywhere on this list. Nevertheless, Andy was interested to see the house after the Jaggers decorated. He keeps saying house, not apartment. As far as the house goes, there could be a few reasons why I couldn't find anything on it. One, Andy had the street number wrong and it wasn't located on 72nd Street. B, Andy had the right street number, but I just couldn't find anything about this house. Next, the diary was redacted to show Mick and Bianca's privacy. They were somewhere on 72nd Street, but the diary did not want to disclose the actual address of the house, which makes sense. Or finally, the Park Avenue residence is the same as the 72nd Street property. So there was no actual house on 72nd. The apartment or house is located on Park Avenue. After Andy and Bianca were at the house for a while, Bianca turned on the alarm, which it sounds like Andy was very impressed by. And she went to the airport to get back to Montauk, which she said was so beautiful. There's a note under this diary entry that this Montauk property was being rented by Mick and Bianca. The house was owned by Andy and Paul Morrissey. Paul was the director of Andy's films, and he was also a producer and a screenwriter. And they bought it together around 1971. The property had one main lodge-type house with 3 smaller outbuildings, as well as a home for the property caretaker, Mr. Winters. Montauk is located on the easternmost tip of Long Island, so like right here. This article is from 2015, and you can read all about the property. It was on the market for about $85 million at the time of this article, which was 2015. Here's the property. So this would be the main house right here, and then Andy owned pretty much all of this. The beach included. He had, beach rights. And here's some pictures of the inside. This probably was after Andy owned it. The property is currently owned by Adam Lindemann, and Adam was the founder of the Venus over Manhattan Gallery in New York City, and his net worth is about $3.3 billion. But who cares about this? This is where the tea is. Apparently, a fence was damaged during a drunken Easter egg hunt, and a shoving match ensued between Adam Lindemann and nightclub owner Max Levai, who also alleges he was the target of extortion in 2015 in an attempt to embarrass him and tarnish the reputation of his club, Happy Ending. In 2020, Max was sued by his own gallery over alleged mismanagement. Max then filed a suit against the gallery for termination of his role of president during the closure due to COVID, and claimed that the gallery set out to defame him and destroy any solo ventures he might seek in the art world. So this guy right here, he seems like a definite handful. There was a fence that was damaged that must have separated his property to Lindemann, or maybe Max was... No, it sounds like they both own property. So from the reading here, it sounds like they both own property. Maybe this fence separated the properties. It was damaged by an Easter egg hunt held by Max Levai. And it started this whole shoving match during an Easter egg hunt. Let's see. You can also look up the Rothko estate scandal from 1975, in which Max's father was involved in the fraudulent art sale of almost 800 Rothko paintings after the artist's death. In 1975, the courts ordered the gallery to pay over $9 million in damages and ordered the gallery to return the unsold 658 Rothko paintings it still held to the custody of Rothko's estate. So you could see this right here. Here's some articles that you can read. And you can also look up that Rothko art fraud. What basically happened was that after Rothko died, the gallery started selling off paintings when they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to release them to the estate. And by the time this was all settled in courts, I mean, they only had about 600 left, which is the gallery was ordered to pay $9 million in damages to like make up for the loss of the paintings. So that's it for this diary entry. We have this day in history. Saturday, December 18th, 1976, A Star is Born premiered today, starring Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson. This was the second remake of the original 1937 film of the same name, starring Janet Gaynor. The Barbra Streisand version premiered at the Mann Village Theater in Los Angeles and opened nationwide the next day. The film grossed $80 million with a $6 million budget, and it won the Oscar for Best Original Song Evergreen, written by the great Paul Williams, who we talked about early in the diary. I think it was the diary entry about Andy interviewing Jodie Foster, and I brought up that Paul Williams wrote all the music and the lyrics for Bugsy Malone. So, yeah. So that's it for today. Next time we'll be looking at December 19th, 1976. And in this diary entry, it's the first time that Lou Reed makes an appearance in the diary. So look out for that. Thanks to everyone who watches my videos. I really appreciate it. If you're into Andy Warhol, this is definitely for you. Let's take a look at this diary. Until next time, thanks for watching. MUBBO.